Hi, welcome back to the Jacksonville History Show. I'm Emily Rutherford-Liska, Executive Director of the Jacksonville Historical Society, and I'm here with Lisa Shepard, who is the Senior Historic Preservation Planner for the City of Jacksonville and the City of Jacksonville's Planning and Development Department. Lisa, I hope I got that.
Good enough.
Good enough. Okay, good enough. And what we're going to talk about today are the recent 2015 Historic Preservation Commission Awards. And these, as they are every year, we're between us, we're thinking it's about the 16th ceremony or awards. And as I quip to you, I'm supposed to know this because I do history, but sometimes it all fails you. But it's so impressive every year, and this year was no different. And you were in charge of these awards. A beautiful job, by the way.
Well, there's a whole team of us that work on it, but it's a great thing to put on every year, and we look forward to doing it.
And the idea is to recognize people for their efforts in history education and preservation, and it's just exciting. So I'm going to let you get started and tell a little bit about who and what received awards.
Great. Get started just really quick. It's the Jacksonville Historic Preservation Commission that puts on the annual Preservation Awards. And we do have a memorial tribute that we end up doing most years, and this year it was for Murtis Craig. And she was a great advocate of historic preservation and downtown, the first full-time director at Riverside Avondale Preservation, so we wanted to honor her. Our first category is Heritage Education, and we did publications first. The Richard E. Norman and Race Filmmaking. And this is, I think it came out last year, a book that highlights Richard Norman and his work largely here in Jacksonville. And he was not, or the author was not available to come that night, but the award was accepted by Rita Reagan from the Norman Studios Board of Directors.
And they have a marvelous facility that's developing out in Arlington, pardon the pun there, and going to be very exciting for the public now and in the future.
Oh yes, and a lot of the research for that book basically came from the University of Indiana, and they feel that a lot of the documents there are going to be digitized, and Jacksonville will become very important in recognizing, it'll get on the map, so to speak, for that work. The next book is, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong, you should probably...
I'll be glad to. Zephaniah Kingsley Jr. in the Atlantic World, and slave trader, plantation owner, emancipator. And that was a fabulous work, won statewide awards as well by Daniel L. Schaefer, Dr. Schaefer, PhD.
You had a program on this particular
book.
We
did indeed at the Jacksonville Historical Society. And of course, Dr. Schaefer is Professor Emeritus at University North Florida. And this is a book. If people haven't seen it, they need to get it. It is a marvelous work and really reveals so much about the Atlantic world that people might, and that means the Atlantic Ocean world and the great triangles of trade. Very exciting.
And the next book, Taylor Hardwick, 60 Years of Design, and this book was written by both Taylor and his wife, Jo, and basically highlights his work as an architect.
And of course, how interesting that the old Hayden Burns Library just reopened, one of his works.
That's right.
And people actually come to Jacksonville to visit that building.
Oh, yes. And of course, he recently passed away, and his wife was accepting on behalf of them. The next is Jacksonville Legacy. This was a city booklet that was put together to highlight African American history, very rich history here in Jacksonville that a lot of times doesn't get, I think, as much play as it should. And it highlights a number of the people that are associated with Jacksonville. And it's actually, I believe, available at the public libraries around town.
Wonderful, right. I've seen it and available for free, as I understand, for people. So get them while they last.
Our next category is Exhibits and Events. And our first one was Uncovering the Past, New Archaeological Discoveries of Northeast Florida. And this was at the Museum of Science and History, or MOSH.
And lots of well-known North Florida groups came together.
Yes, it was quite a partnership in putting this on. I think that it highlighted a lot of the work of Dr. Keith Ashley from University of North Florida.
It did indeed, and just what they're adding to our community, that university, and staging it, very public places like Mosh, exciting project.
And the next is Magna Carta Enduring Legacy 1215 through 2015. And this was a exhibit at the courthouse. It was brought to us by the Chester Bedell American Inn of Court. It was the only place in Florida that this exhibit came to, and quite kind of highlighted the history of Magna Carta and how it relates to a lot of the ideals that we enjoy today.
And of course the Bedell name, one of the oldest in Jacksonville, that family long associated with our town.
Well, this one might be familiar to you.
It is too familiar. It's celebrating a major milestone, America's first colony, and the 450th anniversary of the founding of Fort Caroline. And Jacksonville Historical Society was proud to accept the award along with the chair of the project, Lynn Corley, and of course the City Council. And they were the entity that helped make this happen along
and
with...
they participated, which was
They
wonderful.
did, dressed in French attire and some Spanish attire. So it was a fun and highly educational event, and it was a week-long plus exhibit in City Council Rotunda, and then culminated with a program, and I think 450 were in attendance, roughly, not to
big
use...
crowd.
Yeah, big crowd.
Our Preservation Service Award, and this went to Bob Self and the Public Library, the Jacksonville Public Library. Basically, this was to honor the preservation of Lloyd Sangren's photographic collection. Basically, Bob Self had met him and recognized that his work, and when Lloyd passed away, he made sure that the collection was preserved. It's available at the Public Library, and he also has showcased a number of the photos on his website, Vintage Jacksonville, that's devoted to keeping his work alive and sharing it with the public.
Intriguing photographs, and they're so easy to view on the Vintage Jacksonville website.
That's true. The next one, Annie Lytle Preservation Group. This was for their 10 years of service in basically just hundreds of hours that they've dedicated to the preservation, cleanup, and securing of Annie Lytle School, public school number 4. Many of you see that from the highway where I-10 and I-95 intersect. And the building has seen better days, and they really have kind of come together. They meet out there on a regular basis to clean up, to re-secure it if it gets broken into, and it's pretty amazing. Their website is, it really showcases their great work.
They're very dedicated
And this is
group.
the group of volunteers that
Oh,
come out.
amazing.
Then preservation projects, conversations from Mayport. Of course, you know about this one as well. This is a oral history project by Lynn Corley, and it's available at the Jacksonville Historical Society.
It is. So a group of Mayport residents individually have given their stories of Mayport, and if any scholar or researcher or just individual wants to go back, use those stories, they're available, as so many other items at the Jacksonville Historical Society for local history research.
This is another one that you will be familiar with, the Great Save, the Old Mandarin Schoolhouse relocation. And you personally were involved with this project, weren't you?
I was, to a degree. The Mandarin Community Club made the purchase of the old schoolhouse as our 90th anniversary project, and at the time I was president of the club. Of course, Susie Scott ably led that on, and the people who took the ball and ran with it, of course, were the Mandarin Museum and Historical Society. What a tremendous project. They have raised $100,000 plus. Matt Schellenberg, the councilman, stepped up in the area, and he provided funding to help the move and other aspects to establish this. And
so this new location is going to be at Walter
Jones Historical Park. And for all the happy outcome of this project, it was a tad bit bittersweet, and I'll let you talk about that for a moment.
Yes, we had the project manager for the city's Parks and Recreation and Community Service Department Amy, with the department, she unfortunately passed away just the week before our award ceremony. And Sandy Arpin, president of the Mandarin Museum and Historical Society, had a quote that I wanted to read. The schoolhouse project depended on Amy's expertise and guidance to navigate all the complexities involved with this private-public partnership. She did her job with the utmost competence and professionalism, and she made it happen and happen smoothly. Amy's passion and dedication to saving and preserving historic structures and making them available to the public was clearly her driving force. We at Mandarin Museum were devastated to learn of her untimely death. We loved working with her and will miss her and her calm presence, her wise counsel, and her bright smile greatly as we continue our work on this wonderful building without her. Amy was a bright and shining star for the city of Jacksonville and all who knew her.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. And I thank Sandy Arpin with the Mandarin Museum and Historical Society for those kind words.
Our next category, architecturally compatible new construction, and this is the Stein residence. Pictures kind of speak for itself. That's Mr. and Mrs. Richard Stein. Beautiful architecture.
It's just gorgeous. I actually had the opportunity to be on that street the next day. It is a magnificent home, and does fit so compatibly in the neighborhood, just what this award is.
Residential rehabilitation is our next category, and we have 1310 North Laura Street. This was by Jack Meeks and Joanne Fredenick. And this was, I think, their third project that they've been involved with, and just a beautiful outcome. Actually, it was on, I believe, last year's home tour over in Springfield. The next project is 2357 Riverside Avenue, Troy Sperling Interiors. Troy had actually admired this home years ago, had an opportunity to buy it for the location of his business, and he actually has his offices downstairs and lives upstairs. And then 2623 Herschel Street. This is the home of Riverside Avondale Preservation, the Buckland House, and they actually had a state grant to help them with this project.
And this is the home of RAP, Riverside Avondale Preservation.
Right. And it was also on the recent home tour that they put on. And then commercial rehabilitation, and this is our last project, 400 North Hogan Street. This is the Seminole Club, always now known as Sweet Pete's. And this is a historic photo of the building. And it had kind of fallen into disrepair and was kind of a drab interior, vacant for many years. And Marcus Lemonis from The Prophet, as you might have heard of, on TV, had been working with Sweet Pete's to find a new location, and they picked this building. They were a dream to work with. They did a beautiful job renovating the interior, and worked very well for its new use as the Sweet Pete's retail and production and the Candy Apple Cafe.
What a great reuse. And so this is looking at the building today. That original, the first image you showed, that was the beginning of the 20th century, about 1904, 1905, that image. And that building has so much history associated with it. Theodore Roosevelt gave a speech from the upper floor balcony when it was wide open.
It was a great project, and it's done a lot for, I think, really revitalizing kind of the center around Hemming Plaza with all the excitement with it as well.
Filled till usually from lunchtime right on through about 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night, so very exciting. Now, Lisa, you have been in charge of this event for all 16 years, haven't you? Pretty close.
It's been one of my pet projects, but as I said, there are so many people that our staff works on this. It's kind of an extra job when it's going on, but it's so worth it in the end.
And every building, business, individual shown here was a winner, selected for their special efforts in preservation, history, education. And if you want to know more, if someone wants to know more about these awards, how do they find out more?
Good question. I think that we will try to put our full program on the internet on the city's website.
Okay.
I'll make sure that happens.
COJ.net.
Yes.
And it's just such an exciting time of the year, every year. And if anyone ever has a project they want to nominate.
Oh, yes. Our Preservation Awards brochure is always on our website, and we do it every year. We usually have a call for nominations in January, and then of course the event is held in May in celebration of National Preservation Month.
Right, and if people go online right now, they'll find a lot online about May and National Preservation Month.
Get your application together early because it's becoming more and more competitive.
Well, thank you so much. It's fun to see just what's happening. And of course, I work in the throes of the history and preservation world. And typically at one of these ceremonies, a lot of these awards are a surprise and new to me. So I can only imagine how much fun it must be for the public. I want to thank you, Lisa Shepard, for being here. I want to thank you for bringing these awards to the city of Jacksonville and recognizing these very worthy people and projects. So everyone, thank you for being with us, and for now, we're history.